Hello, hello, good morning. I am literally just getting up. I just did a little morning routine of freshening myself up and then washing the dirty dishes from last night. I don't often leave dishes overnight. I'm single, so there's no reason to have. Thank you, Terry, if you're watching. There's no reason for that. I do need to do some deep cleaning in some places in the house. We all always do, don't we? Don't we? Cheers. I have a lot on my mind. I don't know how much, but I'll share. But I'll start here. Yes, I actually bought a single when it came out by Olivia Newton-John because of the music, and also it was pretty sultry. I'm not dead below the waist. Make a Move on Me, when that song came out, I really liked the arrangement mostly. Now, the way she sang it also appealed to me. It's sexy, but that's a good arrangement. But she's not some. I still have the single actually. So rest in peace, Olivia Newton-John. I bet some of y'all didn't expect to hear me say anything about her, huh? You can watch me, but you'll still never fully know me. That's something I've been, thinking about. It's like we can never know each other's full story, ever. As even couples who are married for decades and really close, they still only know what they know about that other person. They don't know that person's story. Interesting. So, just to say, people sometimes will leave comments like, I figured you say this, or I figured you do that, or I kind of expected this. And it's like, well, that's what you get for expecting. How can you expect? You don't know my inside. It's like you'll think 1 + 1 = 2. That ain't always necessarily the case. Okay. So, regarding interviews, as I said in yesterday's video, in general, in life, I like for things to happen. I like to follow flow. So the idea of starting to look up people to interview absolutely does not appeal to me. But I have an interview for tomorrow already because it happened, and this is how it happened, and now this is the way I like things to happen. So yesterday I shared with you my news about Future Still being profitable. I did the same on social media, mainly Facebook, and Instagram. Got a very nice positive response from people, a lot of congratulations, quite a bit of attention, which I don't mind. We all like attention. Well, one of the folks who congratulated me, but then wanted to find out more about, how I did this with my album, was my friend, more of a family friend, but he's a friend, like now. Ron E. Beck is the man's name, and he is best known for being the most recent drummer of Tower of Power. He's from Omaha, and he's done a lot of other work, but that's his most famous gig, is being the drummer of Tower of Power. And we were talking, and he was picking my head about, how I made the album profitable. How we did it, because a lot of people are making records and they're not making any money at all. And he's been in the business big time, right in the middle of the machine. So he was curious. But then after we were done talking, I got to thinking. I said, and so then I called him back and said, hey, Ron, you have a story to tell. And I've been talking to artists on my channel. I've been interviewing people. How about you? Would you like to come on and talk? I'm curious about your story in more detail. And he said, heck yeah. So Ron E. Beck, drummer for Tower of Power. He's done some other work with other people. Is going to be on the show tomorrow. I'll call it a show. He'll be on my channel tomorrow. Now I'll be interviewing him noon West Coast time, which is 2 o'clock here. So the video will be up later in the day. But that's the way I like for things to happen. And I'm about to drop a message to Dagmar Krause. It feels like it's probably okay to ask. I like to follow my instinct, nothing is ever 100%, but I get it right a lot, actually. Since being a kid. Okay? So, I got into a mood yesterday. First thing is, played some more of these Bowies that I just bought, because I do really like David Bowie. And he's grown on me. His thing, the Bowie voice, and the general way that he presents himself. Some songs, he always does songs I just don't like. And there's several on this album that I don't like. But there's about 3 on here that are really strong. Really enjoyed those yesterday. I got into a mood and got into some Slowdive. This is the sort of sound and feeling that it kind of, like Porcupine Tree and Dead Can Dance, it'll put me in a mood where that's where I want to be for a while. So I listened to this, the 5 EP, discovered that they don't have the remix of this, which I want to get. This one, Catch the Breeze, had to play this one twice. These are the music on vinyl. High quality reissues, color vinyl. I've shown them before. I love the graphics too. I also shared that I got to see them live with Slowdive back in the 90s. Also got to party with them after the show. Neil and Rachel were like giggly kids with me. It was really fun. They were nice people. And then this, Just for a Day, is it? Blue Day, where it's like the first single and some other stuff on here. I love the sound. I really love it. In contrast, earlier in the day yesterday, I don't know what I was doing, but I stopped and just sat and listened and played both sides, because this is dynamite. Empyrean Isles by Herbie Hancock. But the person that really shines on this date is Freddie Hubbard. Freddie's trumpet solos on this are so nuanced. It's like he was really ready for this session to just play and not bullshit around. Because that happens. In soloing, you'll have a bag of things that you will pull out things out of as you're trying to make things happen in soloing and improvising. And as an improviser and a player who listens to a lot of music, there are many musicians whose bag I recognize. Oh, okay, he's doing that now. And they can be launching pads for new ideas or for bursts of inspiration. And on this one, there's very little of Freddie Hubbard digging into his bag. It's really quite fresh. It sounds like he's just really ready to play. And that is what I have to share new yesterday. To just, in all honesty, I played most of side 1 of this album, InDreama, which I made with Nick Fackler. Hadn't listened to this for years. It holds up. This is very psychedelic, and if you don't have this, you ought to get it. You really ought to. It's good. It's good stuff. So, a couple folks let me know how you're doing. One fellow let me know that Lanfair is in Wales. I kind of thought so. So that's what's going on this morning. I have to speak on the news, Thank goodness the FBI stepped up and started some actions. And of course, the first thing that Trump and his base do, which is very typical of them and shows their lack of character and immaturity, is to become defensive. A federal judge, the DOJ, getting a search warrant against a former president, that's big stuff. And you don't do it just because you're playing politics. You can't. There has to be some incriminating evidence that says we need to go in there and collect some shit. It just, again, points out why I know that me continuing when I speak up about dirty politics and the horrible behavior of Republicans in Trump, it's real. It's very dangerous for everyone. It's not something to poo-poo and get mad about because you're red or whatever, which is what is probably the case when people come over here leaving angry comments because you don't like the fact that I'm pointing out the truth that this oaf, it's a travesty that he ever became president. He wasn't the first. George Bush Jr., he got his daddy to get him to be the president. I want to be the president. And that's what I see. I will be prepared to delete and block today if some of you folks who watch this are getting ready to make some stupid negative comments. Just get ready to be blocked, okay? Because you're wrong, all right? So, we need some accountability here for a whole lot of things that have been going on, and it's because of this history. This is what I've been trying to get to. I said it on my Facebook page. I was a good student. Hey, Stephanie. We were all good students. Remember, Stephanie, when we moved from South Omaha to North Omaha, the difference in the education system was so dire or so extreme to me that in South Omaha, going to primarily white schools, I don't know about I think my older sister was a straight A student over there. I was a 1, 2, 3 student. But when we went to North Omaha and started going to school in the black community, I was straight A. Okay, mainly because of the level of education was that poor in comparison. As a result, I got a partial scholarship to go to one of the private all-boys high schools in Omaha. That's primarily for rich kids, silver spoons, the fast track for white men to be on the track to just run everything like they have been. So I grew up experiencing firsthand by going to school with these kids. I went to a school full of Trumpers and Trump wannabes, and a lot of kids who just knew, well, when I grow up, I get my dad's business. When dad and mom die, I get their money. And the racism that went along with it, I experienced firsthand. So I have been outraged for a long time, well before Trump, about white privilege and the inequity in this country in so many ways. So that's had a lot to do with my outrage and my knowing that it's important to not let these people get away with this. It's the demise of our country to let these people just be above the law. It ain't cool. So I'm happy. We'll see what happens next, because the law is owned by those who own it. There's no real justice. And he could get away with this. They could find a way to weasel his ass out of this again. But I'm glad that the FBI did their job. That's what I have to say about that. I'll say it again. Be an adult in responding to me. be an adult. Let me remind you that when I have expressed and name called, it's justified outrage and anger that I'm letting it out. I'm not being childish. It's like I've had enough. And so I'm expressing that as well as cogently expressing my thoughts like I usually do. So be smart. Don't be childish and think one equates to the other. There's a difference, okay? So talk to me like an adult, okay?